have one core strategy practice. And I'm wondering if someone would like to work with me with that. Anne, thank you. And their support. And whatever comes up here, you know, our intention is to hold it with care and being responsible. So with that, we'll venture slowly and with care. So Anne, thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'd like to do this in a way where I'm working with you, but also with the class, saying, you know, these are things that what I'm doing, just to note it, and also maybe ways to set it up. Does that sound okay?
Perfect.
So first of all, what I just did is I'm always asking, is that okay? You know, is this okay with you? Because it's her process. I mean, it's her, you know, and thank you. Also, thank you for doing this with me, because it's helpful for the whole class. So there's two ways we can enter it. One is, you know, we could just do a general like stimulation and then kind of go notice, or you could talk about something that's going on for you where you want to work with it. Did you have a thought about that?
I think the most challenging situation I'm coming up against at Christmas is a relationship that I feel uncomfortable being around a person. It's my stepson's girlfriend. So it's kind of family. And I'm having the thought of her coming at Christmas. There's some unease in it, and there's constriction, and there's some sense of resistance. And so I'm struggling with that, wanting it to be different. Like I want to be, it's yeah.
All right, that's plenty. And again, for the class, that's even more information than I would even need, because you know what you're talking about and what you want. That's what's most important. And you've clued me in enough. So for the sake of moving through this too, I'm going to invite you to just consider, if when we're asking questions, just a sentence or two at the most really is all you need. And even if you don't want to answer a question, that's okay.
Okay.
I might ask you something, you go, do you know what that is? If it sounds stimulating, it's okay if you don't, what that is, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
But again, that's for you to be mindful of, that if you are uncomfortable or it's not worth it, you can decline, and that is honored here.
It's understood.
Thank you. So, I also want to ask, you said it sounds like it's something that's uncomfortable, but it's not like overwhelming. Does that sound right?
Yes, I wouldn't say it's overwhelming, but there's definitely is a constriction in my body. I feel it in my body when she's around, or even thinking she's coming. I feel it in my body.
Okay, so that's pretty stimulating. So we'll go with a lot of care, if that's okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. So instead of being in the middle of the interactions, how about we just begin with, looks like she's going to be coming over. Okay, so imagine you just found that out. Okay, what goes on in your body right there?
I feel like a constriction, definitely, like under my breast, like solar plexus, like right here, and
okay,
actually, even in a little bit in my throat, like.
Which one comes first?
Here.
because we can go do both, but let's just start small, start with one, because and go slowly. How does that sound?
Perfect.
All right. And I'm going to say to the class, now you notice she was at a 7 or an 8 in the conversation. So I had to use a little bit of imagination and go, what would be the lightest entry into that conversation? That's an important piece. And just now, if she'd said, well, it's here and here, and it's an overwhelm, then you definitely got to bring it down. Because if it's overwhelming, she can't really feel what's going on inside. Okay. So solar plexus, that's, in these 4 questions that I generally ask, it can easily go off into any of the other practices, but let's see how that goes. Okay. So the first question is where? Solar plexus. So here's a question, just your best guess. That's a strategy that you learn to do at some point in your life. You know what a strategy is. It's in service of a beautiful need. The strategy, though, is something you learned and you practiced and it became part of it. And so when did you learn to do that? First thought, best guess.
I want to say 5.
Okay. And again, off to the side, everybody, it's just like, it's 5. This is a different kind of remembering, and that's whatever anybody guesses is fine. And when I say first guess, best guess, that's to get an empathic hit. That gets below the cognitive sometimes. 5. And now here's the part that always want to be careful with. Always want to be careful with. And the gentlest of questions. So at 5, that's a strategy you learn. You tighten here. When you learn that, what was going on that you learned to do that? And I went to again suggest no more than a sentence. If you find something coming up that's hard to be with, then you don't have to say anything. But if you can just imagine what was going on when you learned to do that.
First thing that comes to mind is protection, is somehow protecting myself from something external.
Okay.
But I'm not sure what that is exact. Like, I don't have a memory of a certain situation or yeah. I mean, I'm the youngest of 9.
Okay, let's just go there for just a moment. Okay.
I'm thinking maybe that has something to do with it. That comes up. So
Okay. So 1, and again, keeping in mind, I have a general sort of a map that I keep expressing that is a general map. It just seems to be what things normally they live in us. And feel free to improvise on it and inform it, please. But the head is about thinking, the heart is about feeling, the belly, it's about intuition. Between the belly and the heart tends to be about self. And it's interesting you said, and protect myself. Your words. And then, it sounds like protect your sense of self in a big family. Is that kind of what it is?
That's what intuitively I'm picking up.
Okay, that's good. That's good for me.
Protect myself from either from being hurt or being called names, or I don't, who know, how families are. I mean, my brothers and sisters, I love my brothers and sisters. It's not like
You were 5, they were young, things happen.
Things happen.
People call names, little kids get pushed around. Stuff like that is what you're guessing pretty much, right?
Right. I mean, I had to fend for myself. I mean,
Yeah, what do you mean you had to fend for yourself?
Well, I had to, I had to stand up for myself. I mean, I had 8 older brothers and sisters. I had to, you know, make my way. And I mean, they weren't mean. I mean, you know, abusive in a sense of hitting or anything like that. But you know,
So what I'm
I had
hearing,
to, I had to create space for myself in a small house with 8 brothers and sisters. So I had to, you know, yeah.
okay, well, so, you're painting more of a picture, and, what I'm hearing, if I'm getting it, is that, if anyone's going to take care of you in that big old household, it's got to be you, it sounded like. And that's what you learned to do. Is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And it makes sense that, if this part of you is not, it's not like they're going to do that. So you say, I'm going to protect this, and I'm going to do this and take care of this myself.
Hmm.
Okay. So the fourth question was, what need was that in service of? And what I'm hearing is, protection of yourself, a sense of self, your
Space,
autonomy, even, respect. What's that?
space too, I think.
Space. Space. Yeah.
Uh,
If I do this, I'm going to find that inner space I need to take care.
mhm,
Uh-huh. So space. So right now, that 5-year-old was doing, the best she could at 5 years old. I can only imagine the youngest of 9 trying to navigate such a situation, and to be able to just take a moment and not judge the strategy of this. Now that you're older and more articulate and you're who you are, you can advocate for yourself probably in different kinds of ways. But
mhm,
at 5 years old, maybe it's fair to say what you did, you were doing the best you could.
mhm. Oh, yeah.
And to take, and that younger you is still
Mhm,
fighting for your sense of space and sense of self and that protection
mhm, mhm,
when it comes up in the present moment.
mhm.
And how would it be to just for a moment, not judge the strategy, not judge, but just appreciate the intention of that 5-year-old Anne,
Mhm.
and who's been working for you all these years for your sense of space and safety and sense of self.
Mhm.
How would it be to just give a little appreciation for that? Even imagine, however you do, whether it's talking to this part of you or to that 5-year-old you, and just saying thank you, if that feels genuine.
Yeah, I think I can picture her and get a connection to her situation at 5. Like, I think I can connect to that 5-year-old and what she was experiencing and understand how the strategy worked and why.
How about just right now?
And
She's
thank
still she's still right here now,
Mhm.
and just that's a lot of work she's put for your sense of self and protecting that. Just saying thank you,
I'll say thank you. Thank you to that 5-year-old.
and
Yeah.
notice how that is, just to say thank you.
There's a sense of release, a sense of a little fuller breath. I can feel my breath a little bit more full. Like I can breathe a little bit. Yeah.
So that is the core strategy there, and that is the beginning. Did you? I'm just wondering, really, did you get a sense, Anne, that sort of shifted a little bit the relationship you have with that younger you, a little bit?
Hmm. I think I think just having that connection and feeling that relationship between the adult and the child, um, and knowing it's me, both the child and me, has given me appreciation
Mhm.
for,
Appreciation.
yeah,
Of what?
for what she was going through.
Hmm. Yeah, I think, yeah, appreciation that that you would stand up
Mhm,
for your sense of self. How important that is.
mhm.
So, I left out one piece though, you pretty much have, you get the sense that, you are yourself, and that, you have a strong sense of self.
I think I do in a lot of ways. I think I have a certain confidence. Um, I think what else came up for me is I think the reason I did the voice
Mhm.
or the throat was I think that when I was littler, I didn't have as much of voice because I was the youngest, and so I think that was why I felt that constriction also.
Mm.
And even today, why I'm doing MVC is to find my voice, and so I think it's interesting that that came up too.
So let's move to there for just a second. But before we
That's
do, I just want to say, maybe that strategy wasn't perfect,
Mhm.
but something worked.
It did work. There's no doubt.
At the very least, we can be grateful for that. But
Mhm.
then also, let's do a kind of a a quick piece if you're still willing to continue. Just because we're here. So here.
Mhm.
So that's, if I, the first question was where,
Mhm.
and the second question is when. When did you learn to do that? Can I ask that now? Is that okay?
Mhm. When did I learn to
Tighten this. That's a strategy you learned at
that
some
was
point in your life.
yeah, I think that came along with the whole protection here. I think it was I think these two places were how I strategized to not I didn't feel I hadn't as much of a voice. Um, I think there was a fear, some kind of fear.
So the short answer is five.
Yeah, 5. Yeah.
The third question, again, sometimes less is better.
Mhm.
And
Right.
this is an exploration we're all doing together. And um, so the third question is, so what was going on when you learned to do this? Imagine, that when you're doing this at 5, what were you doing this for?
Mm, I think it was um learned from my brothers and sisters. I think it was a learned strategy in my family to not say much.
Okay, so I'm guessing the contraction is basically you saying, don't talk too much.
Right.
And what was, fourth question is, what was the need?
The need was, I think, um to be a part of the family unit because our my family unit didn't talk much.
To
So
belong.
to belong. Thank you. To belong.
Okay.
Yes. To belong.
So again, with do you have a sense in your life these days that, of belonging?
Uh-huh. Oh, definitely. Much,
Yeah,
much.
yeah, again, so same kind of thing for a moment, just if it'd be okay to not judge that younger you for a moment, or the strategy,
Mhm.
just appreciate the intention, which is for the sake of belonging, you learn to do this. And this is
Mhm.
still happening. That part of you is still saying, I'm going to make sure that I belong.
Mhm.
And not, yeah. So how would it be to turn to that place and just appreciate the intention of that younger you?
Mhm. Mhm.
And again, notice how that feels when you do that.
I feel a sense of a little more space. in my throat area. A little less tension.
Mhm. All right. So that's the process for right now. And
Mhm,
now, as the backdrop too, which is almost secondary right now, but you got your, was it you said your son's girlfriend coming over? So you just hear the news she's coming over.
mhm.
What goes on? I'm curious. What do you notice in your body?
It's a little easier,
Mhm.
I think, now. I mean, my experience right now is less constriction, more opening in the throat. Um, I can sense the connection uh, of why I feel that way with her, the space, the protection. Yeah, like I can, yeah, I understand. I have a better understanding and connection to strategy and her, like why she triggers that in me. Like I understand that more.
So would you say in a word or so that there's a little more awareness?
A little more awareness of the trigger, which would be kind of her personality and her sense, her energy, and why that was triggering. So
Yeah,
similar to my childhood, like I can, the space, the energy,
that's it. So
I get it.
yeah, so I don't want to get too much into that
Yeah,
right now.
I don't want to get into that either, but I
No, no,
sense
no.
it.
Yeah, in fact, I was just curious, just again, just if that, because this is, touching in on those places is really potent and it's connective and it's releasing,
Mhm,
you know, to bring it into those triggering situations. That's something that takes time because the more you get to listen in this way,
mhm,
the
mhm.
more relaxed your system and integrated it can be, and the more present you can be with what's happening. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yes, 100, yes, that makes sense.
All right. Well, thank you, Anne. For are you good with completing it right here?
Yeah, it's gonna be very helpful, I think, when it'll be interesting when it happens in the next few days.
Yeah.
Staying connected to those places when she's around and seeing how
Yeah.
that all works out. Yeah. So
Well,
thank you.
my pleasure. It's an honor too. I'd like to kind of go back to the big group for a moment,
Mhm,
and can I give you a very interesting practice to follow up? And again, I'm saying this for your sake, but I'm also saying it for the group. Uh,
mhm,
this is what you can do with this work to deepen it into on your own outside of these moments that we're working on.
mhm.
Would you like that?
Yes, please.
All right. Well, so that 5-year-old,
Mhm,
hang out with her over the next at least 2 weeks till we meet again.
mhm,
And each day take a moment and just ask if there's anything she'd want to tell you. And just like sort of I was listening with you, and if she doesn't want to talk, say that's okay. I just want you to know that I'm here and I'm interested and I care and I know, and even maybe I haven't been listening so much.
right.
And each day, just you can be creative. You don't want to talk. Okay, you want to go for a walk? I was
Yeah.
going to go get some ice cream. Do you want to go with me? Um, and spend some time and mostly just listen, because the more familiar you can become with those places, the more of a resource they can become.